Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to all of you for the commemoration of the United Nations Day for South-South Cooperation in Asia and the Pacific, organized jointly by ESCAP and the Thailand International Cooperation Agency, TICA. The theme of this year's commemoration is Multilateral Solutions for a Better Tomorrow, in line with the theme of the Summit of the Future. We are happy to bring together a diverse group of stakeholders to highlight South-South cooperation in action for sustainable development. Thank you for joining us today in person and remotely from across Asia and the Pacific region. Before we proceed with the opening session, may I request all participants joining us online to kindly mute your microphones and turn off your cameras. I am honored to invite Ms. Armida Salcia Alice Jabana, Under-Secretary General of the United Nations and the Executive Secretary of ESCAP, to deliver her welcome remarks.
Thank you very much, Adnan. Excellencies, distinguished participants, colleagues, friends, both attending here in person as well as joining online. First of all, I would like to recognize the presence of Director General of TICA, Mr. Watanawit Gajaseni. Yeah. So, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very delighted to address you today as we commemorate the UN Day for South-South Cooperation in Asia and Pacific under the theme Multilateral Solutions for a Better Tomorrow. In 1955, the Asia-Africa Conference was held in Bandung, which also happened to be my hometown in Indonesia. That pioneering meeting laid the foundation for South-South cooperation. So actually, this South-South cooperation ID initiative was already initiated way back since 1955. I'm very pleased to note that the spirit of Bandung lives on in Asia and the Pacific today, with inspiring examples showcasing the power and vital importance of multilateral and bilateral cooperation among countries of the South. Developing countries in our region have achieved notable milestones and developed strong regional and sub-regional public goods through South-South cooperation. Actually, I must also add, South-South as well as South-South trilateral cooperation. Organizations such as ASEAN, ECO, or Economic Cooperation Organization, SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BIMSTEC, SARC, the Pacific Island Forum, and also other regional, sub-regional association are testament to this. Since its inception, South-South and Triangle Cooperation have always been at the heart of our work. It underpins our research and analysis, intergovernmental and normative work, and technical assistance program. Over the years, we have contributed to South-South and Triangular cooperation, including through facilitating agreements. Just to give you a few examples, the Asian Highway and Trans-Asian Railway Network and the Cross-Border Paperless Trade Agreement. We have helped develop frameworks such as the Incheon Strategy on the Rights of Persons with Disability and the Asia-Pacific Information Superhighway, as well as initiating regional institutions such as ADB, the Mekong River Commission, and the Multi-Hazard Early Warning System for Disaster in the Indian Ocean, or more popularly known as RHYMES. With climate change, the advent of the digital revolution, unprecedented demographic transition, unsustainable natural debt levels, unsustainable national debt levels, and increasing cost of living, our region faces emerging and persistent multidimensional crises and challenges. At the same time, Asian Pacific is witnessing an important transformation in the development assistance landscape with the emergence of new development partners. Yes, so again, yeah, many actually countries, especially in our region, have become development partners or also giving a sort of assistance and collaboration, yeah, to fellow developing countries. We look forward to deepening collaboration with countries in the region, including emerging development partners and a range of stakeholders to harness South-South and Triangular cooperation. At next week's Summit of the Future in New York, the international community will assemble to adopt a pact for the future to accelerate efforts to meet existing international commitments and to take concrete steps to respond to emerging challenges as well as opportunities. South-South and Triangle cooperation will play a central role in tackling our shared regional and global challenges. As 2025 will mark, so next year actually, yeah, will mark the 70 years since the Bandung Conference. Renewing commitments and redoubling efforts for effective South-South and Triangle cooperation are more relevant than ever. Amid the evolving landscape of international development cooperation, they can help countries surmount common challenges and amplify models of multilateral solutions for a better tomorrow. But again, yeah, with concrete initiative as well as actions. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a very successful as well as engaging discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Armida. I now invite Mr. Watanawit Gajaseni, the Director General of the Thailand International Cooperation Agency, the gracious co-host of our event today, to kindly deliver his remarks.
Excellency, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, สวัสดีครับ I join Madam Executive Secretary in welcoming you to today. Together we commemorate the United Nations Day for South-South Cooperation in Asia and the Pacific. I would also like to extend my warm welcome to those joining us from afar across many time zones via the online platform. Let me begin by providing a historical context how South-South cooperation saw its formative years, beginning here in the Asia-Pacific region. In 1955, the newly independent African and Asian states met in Bandung, Indonesia, and decided to work together at the United Nations. This grouping of UN member states refer to themselves as the Afro-Asian Group, and later joined by the Latin American countries in 1964 at the United States Conference on the Trade and Development or UNCTAD, which subsequently led to the creation of the Group of 77. During the Cold War, throughout the 1960s and 1970s, developing countries sought out to determine the cost of their own development. The Global South found an alternative to the then existing economic and political order through technical cooperation among themselves. What is now known as South-South cooperation was derived from the adoption of the Buenos Aires Plan of Action for promoting and implementing technical cooperation among developing countries or BAPA by 138 UN member states in Argentina in September 1978. The plan established a kind of cooperation among least developed countries, mostly located in the south of the planet. It also established for the first time a framework for this type of cooperation and incorporate in its practice the basic practicals of relations between states, respect for sovereignty, non-interference, in internal affairs and equalities of life, among others. More recently, the second high-level United Nations Conference on South-South Cooperation, or BAPA Plus 40, convened again in Buenos Aires in 2019. At this conference, world leaders adopt the outcome document urging greater South-South cooperation to achieve sustainable development. Excellency, and distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, today the international community finds itself facing multiple challenges that hinder our progress towards sustainable development. Rising geopolitical tension have led to cross-border conflicts. The COVID-19 pandemic taught us that man-made borders can do little to keep virus and disease from spreading. Throughout the world, we are reminded by one natural disaster to another every day of the adverse effects that climate change has on this planet and the humankind. That's why South-South cooperation is ever more instrumental to the successful implementations of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in order to help international community realize the sustainable development goals. Countries of the Global South must partner up to learn from each other best practices, exchange knowledge and ideas, and find the adapt development solution that will work for their specific local context. On our part, Thailand has implemented our homegrown development approach of sufficiency economy philosophy, or SEP, and share such local wisdom with our development partners in hope of achieving equitable prosperity and inclusive development that will not leave no one behind. Last but not least, I thank ESCAP for organizing the panel discussion entitled Multilateral Solution for a Better Tomorrow, and hope that participants will find inspiration from today's discussion. I think this is an excellent platform for us to engage in South-South cooperation. I also hope everyone will learn the new ideas and insights from experts and practitioners in the next session. I wish every participant fruitful deliberations on United Nations Days for South-South cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kun Watanabe. I now invite the conference room officer to play the video message from His Excellency Mr. Mohan Pires, the permanent representative of Sri Lanka to the United Nations and the current president of the General Assembly's High-Level Committee on South-South Cooperation.
Thank you for inviting me to participate with you this morning in this very important session. The United Nations Day for South-South Cooperation, commemorated on the 12th of September, highlights the importance of collaboration amongst countries of the Global South in achieving sustainable development and promoting solidarity. In the context of Asia and the Pacific, this event has significant importance due to the region's diverse development needs, rapid economic development, and shared challenges. This day commemorates, therefore, the adoption of the Buenos Aires Plan of Action, promoting the implementation of the technical cooperation amongst developing countries in 1978, and provides an opportunity to reflect on the value and the benefits offered by South-South cooperation. I must commend the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific and the Thailand International Cooperation Agency for organizing this event to commemorate the United Nations Day for South-South Cooperation in Asia-Pacific region. Permit me to share in these few moments some important developments and examples in advancing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Let's think of it very quickly. Strengthening regional cooperation. This event underscores the need, I say, for cooperation among developing countries in areas such as trade, investment, technology transfer, and knowledge sharing. South-South cooperation in promoting sustainable development in this region is crucial for addressing pressing issues such as poverty reduction, climate change, and sustainable development. In the area of economic growth and innovation, many countries in the region we know, including China, India, and the ASEAN members, have seen rapid economic growth. This event provides, I say, a platform for these nations to exchange innovative practices and solutions with their neighbors, fostering inclusive growth among the regions. And when it comes to cultural and historic ties, countries in Asia and the Pacific share deep historical cultural connections, and South-South cooperation allows these nations to leverage their shared history for better political, economic, and social partnerships. Now, you will also appreciate that South-South cooperation helps to reduce the dependency of developed nations in Asia and the Pacific on traditional North-South aid. Now, this contributes to build more equal and self-resilient regional partnerships. We must appreciate that the commemoration serves as a reminder to all of us of the potential for Asia and Pacific nations to work together in addressing challenges while leveraging their shared strengths for collective growth and development. Let me briefly focus on multilateral solutions that would kind of demonstrate what Asia Pacific does on a multilateral plane. You will appreciate that these solutions are essential for addressing the complex interconnected challenges that developing countries face. Nations, you will see, in multilateral collaboration can pool resources, share knowledge, and coordinate their efforts across different sectors, ensuring more comprehensive and impactful solutions. Firstly, let's think of strengthening global and regional relationships. South-South cooperation can enhance collaboration through regional and global organizations like ASEAN, like SAARC, the broader groups like BRICS, and these multilateral platforms, you will see, allow for coordinated policymaking, regional trade agreements, and joint responses to crises. On the global institutions, developing nations can use South-South cooperation to advocate for reform in global institutions like the United Nations, the WTO, the WHO, ensuring these bodies are more representative and responsive to the needs of the global South. The Thailand International Cooperation Agency, that has long-standing relationship to global development and partnerships, is something that we can take note of. On the collaborative environment and climate action, you will see that countries can collaborate on multilateral environmental agreements to address cross-border issues like deforestation, water scarcity, and air pollution. In Asia and Pacific, for example, multilateral efforts managed the Mekong River or address desertification in Central Asia show how countries can work together on environmental challenges. South-South cooperation will appreciate within frameworks like the Paris Agreement, can also promote joint action on climate change mitigation and adaptation. Nations can come together, I say, to secure climate financing, exchange sustainable technologies, and coordinate disaster risk reduction strategies. On the aspect of regional and global trade cooperation, multilateral solutions here can drive, I say, economic growth through regional trade agreements like RCEP and the African Continental Free Trade Area. You will see that these agreements reduce tariffs and foster stronger economic ties among developing countries, allowing them to access larger markets and increase trade volume. Now, you will also see that countries of the global South can also push for fairer global trade policies through the WTO, addressing issues such as agricultural subsidies, market access, and intellectual property rights. So by collaborating as a bloc, I say, we can exert greater influence on global trade negotiations. Now, another aspect is the collaboration in the health sector. Through South-South cooperation, countries can collaborate on multilateral health initiatives and improve public health systems, pooling resources for the research and development of vaccines, establishing regional healthcare centers, creating networks of disease surveillance, and information sharing are all examples how multilateral solutions can strengthen health resilience. My dear friends, we cannot, of course, forget access to medicines. Multilateral agreements can facilitate collective bargaining for more affordable medications and healthcare technologies. Developing countries can work together, therefore, to negotiate better terms. On the question of joint infrastructure projects and connectivity, let me say a quick word. Multilateral solutions can be used, I say, to promote regional infrastructure projects that improve connectivity, such as cross-border transportation networks, energy grids, digital infrastructure. For example, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and the new development bank established by BRICS nations support regional infrastructure development, boosting economic integration and sustainable development. We can come together to develop regional energy grids that utilize renewable resources. Multilateral investments in clean energy projects, such as solar farms or hydropower plants, can help nations in the global south achieve energy security while reducing their carbon footprint. Multilateral partnerships, again, in science, technology, and innovation can lead to breakthroughs in areas like agriculture, healthcare, and energy. If you also look at technology transfers, multilateral frameworks can facilitate technology transfers from more advanced economies within the global south to less developed countries, which promotes a more equitable distribution of innovation and accelerates progress towards industrialization and modernization. My dear friends, peace building and conflict resolution, very important. South-South cooperation can promote multilateral peacekeeping and conflict resolution initiatives, especially in regions affected by conflict or instability. We can contribute to joint peacekeeping forces, mediation efforts. On the question of security cooperation, again, we can collaborate on multilateral security initiatives such as joint anti-terrorism efforts on cross-border crime prevention. Multilateral frameworks provide platforms for sharing intelligence and resources. Development banks like the AIB, the NDB, the Islamic Development Bank provide much needed financing infrastructure, education, healthcare, and environmental projects across developing nations. These multilateral institutions offer an alternative to traditional lending sources, ensuring that financiers is more attuned to the priorities of the global south. Countries, we can, my dear friends, pool financial resources through South-South and Triangular Cooperation Funds to support the implementation of sustainable development goals. By doing so, we can jointly finance projects related to education, poverty alleviation, and environmental sustainability. On the front of diplomatic coordination, we can foster diplomatic coordination on issues like climate change, global trade, human rights. By forming multilateral coalitions, we can amplify our voices on the global stage, advocating for policies and reforms. In international negotiations, multilateral alliances, example, the G77, ASEAN, the African Union, we can allow countries to present unified positions on critical issues such as climate finance, debt relief, and global governance. South-South cooperation can therefore support multilateral educational exchanges and joint programs to promote skills development, research collaboration, academic partnerships, initiatives like student exchange programs, regional universities, and shared research platforms can help to build human capital. Multilateral cultural initiatives also, of course, can promote understanding, dialogue, and cooperation among nations. My dear friends, multilateral solutions offer a comprehensive and coordinated approach to addressing global challenges, and by leveraging, I say, the collective strengths of our nations, South-South cooperation creates an inclusive platform for shared progress across various sectors. Now, this multilateral engagement, I believe, enhances economic growth, social development, environmental sustainability, and global governance, ensuring that challenges of tomorrow are met with collaborative, innovative solutions. I wish you every success in these important deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you. I now invite the conference room officer to play the video message from Ms. Dima Al-Khatib, the Director of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation in New York.
Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to address you as we mark the United Nations Day for South-South Cooperation and amplify the importance of the spirit of solidarity and cooperation beyond geographic borders to secure a better and thriving future. As we move into the second half of our journey towards the 2030 Agenda, only 17% of the Sustainable Development Goals and targets are on track to be achieved. Nearly half of them reflect minimal or moderate progress. progress on over a third has stalled or regressed. We are witnessing also a growing number of conflicts, geopolitical and trade tensions, and the debilitating impacts of climate change have put the SDGs in peril. The world's most vulnerable people are bearing the brunt of these crises. And in this challenging global context, South-South cooperation and triangular cooperation have tremendous potential to catalyze progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. As we move towards the Summit of the Future, the commemoration of the United Nations Day for South-South cooperation is an opportunity for us to reflect on both the progress we have made together, thanks to this modality, and most importantly, the potential that South-South cooperation offers to build a better and more equitable and sustainable future. South-South cooperation is now widely recognized as a powerful vehicle that fosters inclusive growth, mutual learning, and shared success. Developing countries are demonstrating remarkable progress in resilience building, innovation, and collaboration, proving that by mobilizing international solidarity and global partnerships through South-South and Triangle cooperation, we can accelerate SDGs achievement. This has been highlighted during global discussions and summits at the United Nations and beyond, including those with a focus on least developed countries, small island developing states, middle-income countries, water and trade, among others. We are also witnessing incredible Southern achievements, whether in improving health systems, enhancing agricultural productivity, or advancing education. As examples, the Republic of Congo is tapping into the wealth of expertise and innovation available in Brazil on family farming and school feeding programs. UNESCO is facilitating exchanges between Fiji, Marshall Islands, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu to build teachers' capacities. Countries of the Global South are not only sharing knowledge and resources, but they are also building enduring partnerships that transcend borders. As part of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation's mandate to promote, coordinate, and support South-South and Triangle cooperation globally and within the United Nations system, we work to identify synergies and to promote collaboration between partners towards attaining all internationally agreed development goals. Our digital platform, the South-South Galaxy, offers more than 957 grown SDG good practices available to all countries for experience sharing and scaling up. These are collaborations that have brought tangible results, lifting millions of people out of poverty and contributing to a more equitable world. This digital platform also hosts the South-South and Triangle Cooperation Solutions Lab, which has begun incubating and testing scalable South-South and Triangle cooperation solutions. Our South-South trust funds are an important illustration of Southern partners' solidarity. The government of India has channeled over $55.5 million into 63 projects supporting sustainable development across over 30 small island developing states through the India UN Development Partnership Fund that we manage. The India, Brazil, and South Africa Fund continues to leverage the tried and trusted power of South-South and Triangle cooperation to bring tangible improvements to the daily lives of people across the globe, from allowing 12,000 people to gain access to safe drinking water in Cabo Verde to developing a national universal health insurance program in Grenada. Our Triangle cooperation, the Republic of Korea, and the Mekong River Commission are sharing science and technology know-how to implement the water, food, and energy nexus for vulnerable communities living in Cambodia, Lao PDR, Thailand, and Vietnam. We will also be launching later this year a dedicated Triangle cooperation window for optimized support and enhanced sharing of experiences. We recognize, however, that significant work remains before us, especially as we navigate a world shaped by new and complex global challenges. Polycrisis, exacerbating climate change, economic uncertainties, debt injustice, and COVID-19 recovery continue to test our resilience. But I'm confident that through South-South and Triangle cooperation, we can turn these challenges into opportunities for transformative change. Together, let us commit to expanding our partnerships, deepening our collaborations, and ensuring that no one is left behind. On this United Nations Day for South-South cooperation, I urge all stakeholders, governments, our UN family, civil society, and the private sector to join hands in strengthening South-South cooperation. Together, we can achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and build a better future that is prosperous, inclusive, and sustainable for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Arkan Aristanov, Chairman of the Board, Kazakhstan Agency for International Development, KazAid, and the Chair of the 5th Asia-Pacific Director General's Forum for South-South and Triangular Cooperation, who is joining us remotely from Astana to kindly deliver his remarks. So you've got the floor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants and colleagues. It's a great honor to speak today at this important event dedicated to the United Nations Day for South-South Cooperation. Today's theme, Multilateral Solutions for a Better Tomorrow, fully reflects the essence of the Kazakhstan Agency of International Development mission. This day serves as a significant reminder of how multilateral cooperation contributes to sustainable development. We are convinced that joint solutions and the exchange of experience help regions achieve their SDGs. South-South cooperation and triangle cooperation play a vital role in the modern development landscape and represents a common vision of the people and countries of the South shaped by the similar historical realities and paths of development. Southern-led triangle cooperation establishes partners between two or more developing countries with the support of developed countries and multilateral organizations to implement programs and projects aimed at development. And the main priorities in promoting Kazakhstan interest in South-South cooperation and the further development of economic relations, the establishment of digital economy and water, environmental cooperation with the country's partners. KazAid is actively working on projects to promote regional and international cooperation. And currently, we implement program in close cooperation with traditional and new emerging donors, international organizations. Examples of our successful initiatives in the framework of triangle cooperation include Dostik digitalization project. We organize training for civil servants in digital governance with the Technical Cooperation Directorate under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Singapore in 2024. And during the training, participants from Central Asia were able to gain the knowledge about the development of e-government, which contributes to the strengthening of digitalizations in our countries. In 2025, we are planning to consider digitalization tools and components, including AI, within the Dostik digitalization project in cooperation with KOICA and the National Human Resources Development Institute of Korea, and also the Academy of Public Administration under the President of Kazakhstan. In cooperation with JICA, KazAid conducted seminar on modern technical prospects for seismic insulation for the specialists from Central Asia and Caucasus countries. In addition to this project, we have elaborated new initiatives. For instance, from September 16 to 18 this year, KazAid, together with Azerbaijan International Development Agency, United Nations Environment Program, and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and the Ministries of Ecology of Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan will hold a seminar on transparency reporting for 15 developing countries in Astana. Also, we have elaborated together with Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency, TICA, program Avicenna for the faculty members of medical universities in Central Asia. The aim of this event is to enhance the qualification of educators and introduce modern teaching methods. On November, we are organizing together with Japan International Cooperation Agency in Uzbekistan a seminar for entrepreneurs to introduce Kaizen practice that will help improve business efficiency and show the Kazakh experience in this area. Taking into account of KazAid rich experience in implementing projects in the field of official development assistance, our agency is ready and keen to participate in the development programs of ESCAP and implement joint projects with Triangle Cooperation in Central Asia. These initiatives highlight our commitment to South-South cooperation and our desire to contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. We are convinced that working together with our partners, exchanging knowledge and resources, will help create a more sustainable and prosperous world. I express my deep gratitude to the organizers of this event and look forward to new opportunities for cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aristanov. Before we proceed with the panel discussion, I would like to invite all of you to please join us for a group photo in the middle of the room. My colleagues will kindly guide you where to assemble. Thank you very much.
Good morning. May I request everybody to please take back your seats so that we may proceed with the panel discussion. Thank you.
Very good morning and welcome to everybody who is joining us here live in Bangkok as well as online. My name is Mitch Shea, and I have the immense pleasure of moderating this distinguished panel this morning on multilateral solutions for a better tomorrow. We are very pleased to have a highly knowledgeable and diverse set of panelists with us today. There's eight speakers, the 5 here online and 5 here live and 3 online. So let's dive right in. But before we begin, I just would like to remind everybody, even though we have plenty of time, to please limit your comments to about 4 minutes for each of the responses. So let me start at the very end there with Ms. Aruni Hayam. She is Deputy Director of the Thailand International Cooperation Agency and has been working with TICA for 20 years now to promote development in Thailand and around the region, and of course, forge partnerships all over the world. So Kun Aruni, I'd like to ask you, TICA has been one of the champions of South-South cooperation here in Asia and the Pacific. Could you please briefly reflect on contributions of South-South cooperation from your country and cite many relevant examples that deal with our theme today about multilateral solutions for a better tomorrow? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kun Michelle. Everyone, good morning. So first of all, I would like to start by saying that the discussion on the issue of multilateral solutions for a better future is very timely and crucial, especially given the current dynamic international development cooperation landscape. It helps us to set the course of direction and reinvigorate development cooperation among countries of the Global South. Multilateral partnerships for me are not only the reference to joint agreement, they also represent joint efforts and commitments to forward actions and decisions that produce positive, impactful outcomes for individuals, communities, nations, and all of us who together share this planet. To accelerate the UN 2030 agenda, we need multilateral partnerships in action, where all parties join hands to achieve timely implementation and fruitful result. As for Thailand, we attach great importance to South-South and multilateral cooperation as means to drive our international development cooperation. We believe in joint effort solution to meet common goals and solve global problems where no one single country can do it alone. I can give you 2 examples of our work on the multilateral partnership, which are the Colombo Plan and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Thailand has been a long-standing member of the Colombo Plan for almost 70 years. From being a recipient of a technical assistance in the past, now our role in this mechanism has evolved into a partnership. Over the years, we have shared our expertise and know-how to other member states by organizing the training courses in various areas related to food security, business promotion, women entrepreneurship, women empowerment, health and wellness, environmental management, drug-related issues, as well as SDG localization. This regional mechanism enable member states to express their common interests, prioritize needs, and actively engage the parties involved by sharing best practices and experience which will benefit the people of the Colombo Plan in the Asia and Pacific regions. As for the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation or OIC, Thailand as an OIC observer member has provided its long-standing support to OIC. We have taken further actions lately to better address common challenges and build a wider and deeper partnerships by extending our partnership in all dimensions with OIC member states, especially in terms of cooperation related to the development, including agriculture, food security, and healthcare. Last month, we conducted a study visit called University Network for Halal Food Security 2024 for African countries, OIC member states, and affiliated institutions, so as to provide an opportunity for them to explore potential collaboration with Thai University on food security. We are hopeful that the joint implementation of a trilateral cooperation initiative to enhance human capacity for our OIC member states will be realized as soon as possible. To conclude this session, Commissioner, I would also note that the development agenda setting and the policy formulation can be agreed by means of multilateral mechanisms through which numerous member states actively participate in the decision-making process. However, considering the implementation of development work that requires so-called boots on the ground, we can harness our strength and direct our efforts through any kind of mechanism, either bilateral, trilateral, South-South cooperation, or multilateral mechanisms, whichever is more appropriate and effective in addressing the challenges we face for the better tomorrow. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณค่ะ
Our next panelist is Mr. Ye Xuenong. He is the permanent representative of China to ESCAP and has had a distinguished career in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and most recently served as on the advisory committee on administrative and budgetary questions at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Mr. Ye, China has played a key role in promoting South-South cooperation through various means. How do these efforts support the delivery and acceleration of the Sustainable Development Goals here in Asia and the Pacific?
Thank you, Michelle, for giving me the floor. It is indeed a great honor for me to join all of you today in commemorating the UN Day for South-South Cooperation. South-South cooperation is a great initiative for developing countries to seek strength through unity and solidarity. As a member of the family of developing countries, China has always been committed to promoting and practicing South-South cooperation, working hand in hand with other developing countries, especially those in the Asia-Pacific region, to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Speaking of the impact of the contributions of my country, my government, it is to my great pleasure and satisfaction that our efforts have produced positive outcomes and effectively assisted them in advancing the 2030 Agenda. I would like to focus on the following areas. First, on poverty reduction. China has been helping other developing countries to reduce poverty and improve people's lives by providing assistance in the construction of rural public facilities, sharing experience in agricultural governance, and offering technology transfer. Here, I would like to give an example. Thanks to the active and visionary promotion by President Xi Jinping, the Junchao technology is thriving in and beyond China, improving livelihoods and fostering sustainable development in developing nations across the Asia-Pacific. As a matter of fact, in year 2000, in the capacity of a governor of Fujian province, Mr. Xi Jinping introduced the Junchao technology to his guest, the governor of the Eastern Highlands province of Papua New Guinea. And subsequently, in year 2001, the first China-aided Junchao demonstration center abroad was launched in the Eastern Highlands province. Ever since then, President Xi has been a champion of Junchao technology. Next, on the food security. China's assistance to help Asia-Pacific countries to leverage their own strength to accelerate agricultural progress and ensure food self-sufficiency and security. The cultivation of hybrid rice is one of the major achievements of modern agricultural science. After more than 50 years of innovation, Chinese hybrid rice has become a staple of worldwide agricultural development. Moreover, Since 1996, the Chinese government and the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization have jointly implemented more than 20 multilateral South-South cooperation programs and sent more than 1,000 agricultural experts and technical personnel to around 30 countries in Asia, the South Pacific, etc., accounting about 60% of the total number of personnel dispatched by FAO South-South Cooperation Program. On healthcare, I would like to mention that China has provided support to many developing countries in building their public health systems, improving their medical and health care services. For instance, in Cambodia and Kazakhstan, China-aided medical infrastructure projects play an important role in protecting public health and training medical professionals. On quality education, China is also rendering its help to developing countries. For instance, in Nepal and Armenia, China assisted the construction of a number of primary and secondary schools and offered computers, lab equipment, stationery, and sporting goods to improve their basic education. To improve higher education facilities and training high caliber talent in Afghanistan, China assisted the construction project of the teaching building of the Chinese department at Kabul University. On gender equality, since 2013, China has offered over 60 capacity development and technical training programs for women in developing countries. On infrastructure, China has assisted other developing countries in building public facilities and energy infrastructure, enabling their people to enjoy a better life. For instance, in Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Nepal, the Philippines, China has helped build urban arterial roads and upgrade congested sections to ease traffic flow. I would like to also to mention the China-Maldives Friendship Bridge, which was built with China's assistance to connect the 3 adjacent islands. That has already become an artery of traffic in the Malay Atoll, providing an alternative to the ferry as the only means of local transport. On sustainable and innovation-driven economic growth, China assisted the other developing countries in advancing industrialization, increasing the added value of their resources. For instance, China assisted the 3rd phase project of Bangladesh e-government network, extending high-speed information and communication connectivity to cover 62% of its territory and population. Last, on the area of eco-environmental protection, China provided Mongolia with technical assistance for the management of the Gobi bear habitats. China also assisted Laos in formulating plans on environmental protection and clean energy development to accelerate its green and low carbon transformation. I would like to conclude by highlight that it is our belief that true development is development for all, and good government is sustainable. Last July, the 3rd plenary session of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China laid out systematic plans for furthering reform comprehensively to advance Chinese modernization. This will profoundly further transform China. It will also provide new opportunities and new driving forces for South-South cooperation for our joint pursuit of modernization. China will continue to be a staunch supporter, an active participant, and key contributor to South-South cooperation. It will continue to shoulder the international responsibilities commensurate with the development level and its capacity, and further expand South-South cooperation so as to promote the joint efforts for common development and contributing to the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I believe together and united, we can achieve that goal. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Ye. We now turn to a representative of civil society, Dr. Debapriya Bhattacharya. He is a distinguished fellow at the Center for Policy Dialogue, a prominent macroeconomist and public policy analyst, chair of a network of think tanks from the Global South, and a distinguished member of the advisory board for the upcoming UN Office of South-South Cooperation Global Report. Dr. Deb, I'd like to ask you, how important is South-South cooperation for academics and think tanks in the developing countries?
Thank you. Good morning to all of you, Excellencies, esteemed panelists, distinguished participants. Let me start by thanking ESCAP for inviting me and putting me amongst these esteemed colleagues and this unique opportunity to talk to such a, knowledgeable set of participants over here. And thank you for the questions. What the researchers usually do is they do the look into the processes, go through the empirical evidence and tries to generalize some conclusions and apply them for policy improvement. Somewhere beyond their research comfort zone, So when you ask me, I think it will be useful to give an illustration how in the modern sense of the term and in the current context of South-South cooperation, our current research is relevant. I've just finished a research at our center, and just to add why the research subject, because I also sit in the UN Committee for Development Policy, which ticks in and ticks out the least developed countries. So there is a special interest for the least developed countries on my part. So we tried to look at that on the one hand, we are talking about the multilateral solutions for South-South cooperation, and to what extent the multilateral organizations, and particularly those coming from the South, are fit for purpose. That's the question. So what are the multilateral organizations originating in Global South? Currently the discourse on reforms of the multilateral development banks are going on in full swing. And when we talk about the multilateral development banks, we distinguish them between the legacy banks and the southern banks. The legacy banks belong to the World Bank, IMF, Asian Development Bank, African Development Bank, Inter-American Bank. But then there are the southern multilateral development banks, which are the AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, the New Development Bank, and there are also the traditional southern bank, which is the Islamic Development Bank. So the interesting question is whether these banks, the southern origin banks, are being able to do anything better than the legacy development bank in servicing the requirements of the finance of the least developed countries. Why the least developed countries? 15 of them are in the process of graduation. Not all of them are in a good speed. We know that. And a large number of them are in Asia, in the region of ESCAP's domain, although the seed countries are there which are lagging behind. So we looked into two countries. We looked into Bangladesh, one graduating country, and also the Nepal, the other graduating country. The banks we picked up was AIIB and Islamic Development Bank. The interesting point is what are the criteria against which we used to judge them? The first and foremost criteria is additionality. Because as you know, the global finance at this moment is running out of steam. So we are talking about blended finance and many other things because the demand for finance is much more higher than the supply. And whatever finances are available, they're very skewed to the humanitarian needs and very little is flowing to the least developed countries. So in this context, are the southern banks really replenishing that unmet demand for finance in the graduating LDCs? So the first issue, which was the additionality. Second issue was, of course, the allocative priorities. The third issue is the operational efficiency. Fourth issue, fifth issue is the impact part of it, particularly when it comes to disaggregated impact in the context of leave no one behind of the SDGs. We looked into the projects which have been completed and tried to see both from the allocation, how it was done, how much time it took to really turn around, how we implemented them, and finally, what are the results which have come through. Interestingly, there are a number of conclusions which have come through, I think, which are very important if you want to really make the multilateral efforts for South-South cooperation more effective in the coming days. The first and foremost issue is that these countries really need more capital infusions. The organizations need more capital infusion. And the capital infusion essentially means the north of the South, the southern countries are divided into two groups according to our new criteria which we apply as researchers. There is a north in the south and there is a south in the south. Bangladesh comes from the south in the south. China, India, I don't know about Colombia, but Mexico and others do come from the north of the south. So whether the north of the south can put in more their surpluses, their balance of payment surpluses or the reserves more into the cash financing or the cash base of these banks is important. The second point is that if these banks are going to borrow from the market, they won't be able to lend cheap to their on lending to their recipient countries. If you look at the IDA financing mechanism of the World Bank and others, how they really raise funds with zero interest rates and others, this is a mechanism which is important for the AIIB to get those funds from zero interest rate and so that they can make concessional finance available. Currently, the cost is very high. The third point which comes through is that their country presence is relatively limited at this moment. So operational efficiency without the country presence is difficult in many ways. The issue of also the ownership, the stakeholders' participation in the management, which is a very important part on the discourse when we are talking about democratization of the World Bank, IMF, and others. It is equally applicable, if maybe a bit less, on the southern development banks as well, because the ownership representation it does not necessarily reflect the recipients in the management style as we see over there. Important part is the inclusion of the non-state actors. The money is given to the government, but the government does not necessarily is very democratically operating. So the inclusivity part in terms of stakeholders' participation, both in formulation of the projects and assessment of the project, if not management, is also partly deficient. So what I'm trying to say is that it is a unique opportunity to use the Southern Development Banks, multilateral development banks, AIIB, NDBs, Islamic development banks, and many others which are coming through to be more fit for purpose in terms of supporting South-South cooperation. And that is what we are looking forward to. And this particular discussion will possibly give us an opportunity to take those forward. Colleagues, let me remind you in conclusion, it took almost 40 years to come from Bandung conference to the first UN conference over there, and so that we institutionalized the South-South cooperation in a bilateral basis. It took another 40 years to come to BAPA +4 to talk about multilateral solutions to South-South cooperation. I am not ready to take another 40 years to do my another research. I want it earlier than that. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dev, for those insights. We move now to another critical player in the Global South, Latin America, more specifically Colombia. We have with us Ms. Karen Viviana Tobar Quintero. She is the chargé d'affaires of the Embassy of Colombia in Thailand and First Secretary of Diplomatic and Consular Services. So, Ms. Tobar Quintero, Several countries in Latin America, such as yours, have positioned themselves as leader champions of solidarity and South-South cooperation. What are some lessons from Latin America that you could share that would benefit the Asia-Pacific region?
Thank you, Mitchell, and we are honored to be here. Thank you all for inviting us to this event. So first of all, I think from a perspective of mutual respect, respect about the capacities of each actor in the cooperation system, we think that there's a lot we can learn from each other. We are aware that we need to tackle common global challenges, and we can't do this alone. So for the last decade, South-South cooperation has been a priority for Colombia in order to share and expand successful experiences. Our basic activities start by envisioning clear results from each cooperation project. We try to write it down and agree with our partners on what are the concrete outcomes that we want to achieve through each project. We are also very careful about financing, because we are aware that there are differences in the capacities, in the economic capacities of each actor. But also through each project and each time we reach to another region, such as Asia Pacific, we are deeply humbled by the wisdom of local communities and by the capacity that each actor has to contribute to cooperation, not only through economic resources, but through knowledge, not only technical and scientific knowledge, but also traditional knowledge from indigenous communities from thousands of years that can help us put up with common challenges. So I would like to give you 3 examples of projects that we have developed with Asia Pacific since 2012. We adopted a project to enhance capacities for Spanish, for communicating in Spanish. This has helped the beneficiaries of the project to come closer to Latin America, because, as you know, there is a particularity in our region, and that is most of our countries speak Spanish. So it has worked in terms of people-to-people relationship to strengthen that relationship, and in that order, we have been able to benefit both regions in many areas, including tourism, for example, for local communities. Other initiatives, for example, we have a partnership with ESCAP to promote inclusive policies for sustainable economies. In this framework, many specialists have the opportunity to exchange views and experiences to build stronger policies to take into account different experiences that we have in our regions. And since 2023, Colombia is offering a blue carbon course to ASEAN countries to protect mangrove ecosystems, which are sources of oxygen, and they capture carbon as well. I think through small actions, we add we contribute to tackling these common challenges. So thank you so much.
Okay. Muchas gracias, Senora Quintero. Our next distinguished panelist joins us online and is from the academic world. Dr. Orbita Roswintiarti is a senior researcher at the Research Center of Geoinformatics at the National Research and Innovation Agency of Indonesia. I'd like to ask Dr. Orbita if you could please provide to us an overview of Indonesia's National Research and Innovation Agency's contribution to South-South cooperation and explain how the slum mapping exercise might support the theme multilateral solutions for a better tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay. Excellency, distinguished South-South cooperation participants, ladies and gentlemen. ESCAP entered the second phase of the Plan of Action at the 4th Ministerial Conference on Space Applications for Sustainable Development. And this phase will run from 2022 to 2026. The initiation of this phase is marked by the adoption of Jakarta Ministerial Declaration on Space Application for Sustainable Development in Asia and the Pacific. The declaration defines the path for the next 4 years. Some of the highlights of the declaration include promoting regional and sub-regional cooperation, fostering the sharing of good practices and lessons learned, facilitating the setup of a virtual satellite constellation for disaster risk management, an initiative of the government of Indonesia, and continuing to provide technical assistance, policy analysis, and capacity development regarding the use of Earth observation data in the region. At ESCAP, we work with partner countries to leverage innovative digital innovations to provide crucial insights to make geospatial data available, accessible, affordable, actionable, and to benefit people and inform practices, processes, and policies. More importantly, to engage multiple sectors and citizens in managing and responding to societal challenges that undermine the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia has been involved in phase 1 of the project under the China ESCAP Cooperation Program, entitled Building Institutional Capacity for the Use of Integrated Spatio-Temporal Data in Local SDGs Monitoring and Decision Making. The activity includes capacity development and knowledge sharing to support local government in selecting SDGs indicator. In 2022 to 2021, we participated in the development of Slum Severity Index and enhancing Indonesia One Map policy for village mapping. In 2022 to 2024, we were involved in slum mapping for Bandung and Makassar cities. By incorporating remote sensing data and local knowledge into machine learning models, we aim to bridge the gap between global insights and local conditions to create more effective, equitable, and sustainable solutions and contribute towards achieving the SDGs 11.1 target, that is, ensure access for all to adequate, safe, and affordable housing and basic services and upgrade slums. During the activity, we conducted 3 workshops on knowledge and experience sharing among experts and local government partners. Besides the slum models running in the local government offices, the output of these activities are also copyright certificates and publications submitted to the international journals. Based on our experiences above, the coordination and effective SDGs transfer knowledge and technology within the country and with international partners are very important to enhance the progress towards the SDGs. So, BRIN's contribution to South-South cooperation focus on science, technology, and innovation to promote knowledge sharing, technological innovation, and research collaboration for sustainable development and science growth in the Asia and Pacific countries. So our slum mapping exercise supports multilateral solution for a better tomorrow, among others by promoting data-driven, collaborative problem solving, technology transfer, and innovation. Our developed slum model hopefully contributes to global efforts to improve slum dweller lives. So it will benefit Indonesia and other developing nations facing similar urbanization challenge. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih, Dr. Rita. Thank you. We come back to Bangkok now and bring in another perspective from civil society. Ms. Kun Somsuk Punya Bancha is Secretary General of the Asian Coalition for for Housing Rights, which has been supporting community-driven citywide upgrading in about 215 cities across Asia. Kun Somsuk, can you briefly reflect on contributions to South-South cooperation from your coalition? Again, citing some examples relevant to our theme this morning.
Thank you, Kun Michelle. I'm a chairperson, actually, too senior to be Secretary General, actually. Anyway, thanks so much, ESCAP, for the invitation. And thanks for the invitation because when you invite me, I look at the topic and I realize that, oh, this is very important topic and I forgot. So this event is to celebrate the very, very important development direction of the South-South cooperation. Yeah, and the ACHR is in fact working along this direction in the past more than 30 years. We are the coalition linking community, civil society, professional, government, whatever, across the countries, and trying to find a way that you break the limit of the vertical system of a country and start creating platform for action, learning, exchange, and see what are possible. Yeah. And through this process in the past 30, 40 years, we able to support several activity, citywide upgrading, at the good time when we get a good support, have funding, we have the program to support up to 215 cities in Asia for a citywide upgrading. Yeah, it's not really difficult if we support and find the process among the people and people to people and learning among each other from different countries. Apart from the upgrading, we also support the exchange, the sharing, the workshop, disaster rehabilitation, and community welfare, and several other. It has to be something that starts from people-driven, with the support of civil society, government, and the other actors. Once we focus on people on the ground and the ground process as the action, proactive action to make possible change, you could see a lot of energy and power on the ground. And why it's not happening if we do not have this kind of intervention? Because if we look into many of the government system in our region, we have, of course, go into the history, how we develop the system. The system of the government change slower than the reality of the society. Yeah. So this vertical system is sort of restrict the creativity and the movement on the ground. But once you cut across this and let all these cloud active group to link together to learn from each other, you see immense energy and possibility. And once you could find the support and they're able to start unlock their limit to the new level of understanding and work together as a community group with civil society, with the city, with the other actor. Suddenly all the key stakeholders are together moving into a solution side and make this possible change in a big scale. Yeah? So big scale change for Asia, for housing development, for infrastructure development, for many other possibilities, it's not very difficult. Once you unlock this South-South, people to people, support to support, to be more flexible, to be more free, and go to them directly with a proactive, strategic direction. Yeah, this is what the ACHR have been doing across Asia in 18, 19, 20 countries. And I would like to say that this kind of South-South collaboration, we actually link with the Latin American and the African group as well. And whenever the different group going out of their limit or restrictive system from a country, they start seeing new possibility and seeing the new vision. They might start working on the possibility. So you go into this actor and trying to see how these different actors are able to have tools, to have resource, and to collaborate with the other and make change possible. So in this 30, 40 years, we able to support the knowledge, the learning, the exchange, the projects, and many other. When we organize the exchange this day, we would try to propose the concept of community, civil society, city, or government go together as a team. So when they move from what existing condition or boundary to see something possible together as a team, they talk to each other, they collaborate. And with that learning, joy learning, they're able to have new concept, new belief, new inspiration, and see new possibility together. And in this way, it leads into a new collaboration between the community people, the government, and the civil society. And I call this a reform. And this kind of new collaboration between the different sector, different actors, should be an important direction to our development community to support. And this leads to the word of multilateral. Multilateral in some way is a similar concept, only is go into a bigger stage. I think that multilateral is very, very important because we link up country and things and trying to facilitate the new possibility together. But we need to be more creative. We need to be more flexible. We need to find a way that multilateral is not supporting a vertical system, existing vertical system too much, but trying to find a way that the vertical system will open up new collaborative possibility for people, for community, for cities, and how these different position, the different roles could be more hybridized. Can I call it hybrid? Adjust in order to find a way how different actors, different force different idea can go into the same direction and make creative change in our society possible. And that is the direction I think for the better future, for the better tomorrow, the collaborative change, the multilateral support for this collaborative change, community-driven, people-centric, should be an important development direction. And there's no limit to scale of change. We can solve poverty in a big way if we see people as an active actor, and people are the answer to many of these. Once you focus on people, community, and the area-based development approach, we are moving into a sustainable development direction, which I think multilateral support, country collaboration, city collaboration, and integrated development of the several needy issue can go together. With this approach, I think it would be a very, very important development direction for better tomorrow. Thank you.
ขอบคุณมากครับ Our final two speakers this morning joining us online. The first is Christina Schönleber. She is the Chief Strategy Officer for the Association of Pacific Rim Universities. Christina has extensive experience in leading multi-stakeholder impact collaborations and works closely with leading scientists and policymakers across the region. Ms. Schönleber, could you describe to us what is the potential for CSOs to help translate South-South learning into effective policy and/or institutional change for a better tomorrow?
Hello, good morning, and thank you very much for the question. First of all, I also would like to add my thank you to the distinguished partners and fellow participants for inviting me to contribute to this United Nations Day for South-South Cooperation, and also to give me the opportunity to learn from my fellow panelists. So I've really enjoyed listening to those contributions. So as you just heard, my name is Christina Schönleber. I'm Chief Strategy Officer at the Association of Pacific Rim Universities, or it's also called short APRU. And I'm very happy to share insights how APRU as an NGO and network of over 60 universities in the Asia-Pacific region has been a platform and really a convening body of meaningful multi-stakeholder, but also multilateral partnerships and South-South cooperations. So APRU, we as part of a long-standing partnership with UNCC conducted and just concluded a very successful multi-year South-South, a multilateral and triangle cooperation project under our AI for Social Good initiative. And this focused specifically on supporting government agencies from Thailand and Bangladesh to strengthen and develop country-specific capabilities and governance frameworks. And this was to identify to support the identification of solutions that are drawing on artificial intelligence technologies to address key socioeconomic challenges such as poverty alleviation and the improvement of health and pregnancy care. And these specific topic areas that we wanted to support were also developed in partnership, which I will explain in a minute how we did this, but those topics were not put forward by us, but they were really put forward by the government partners. Thus, based on this experience and on this 2-year project, I do strongly support the notion that civil society organizations are very well placed to help translate South-South learning into effective policy and institutional change for a better tomorrow. But to achieve this, it is really important to be able to generate and make knowledge easily accessible through these South-South Triangle corporations, which then will aim to support country and policy experts in generating evidence-based policies and strategies. So the outputs, and the aims are really important. And the approach APU chose for this specific AI for Social Good project was to work closely with UNCC and our member universities to identify and bring together multi-stakeholders across disciplines and across countries to make that into teams made up of in-country policy experts, cross-disciplinary academic experts, and also experts from industry who all were interested to work in close collaboration. So for this, we then identified 2 government partners, and UNCC was very instrumental to bring these multilateral partnerships together. So those 2 government partners that were looking to develop enabling AI policy frameworks and were open to work in partnership and apply a co-production focused process for these government policies, where the Office of National Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation Policy, or NEXPO from Thailand, and from Bangladesh, it was the Aspire to Innovate, or A2I program. And having these partners, finding these partners in discussions with them to bring them on board was really important. And as a result, we convened with these partners and our academic experts that we also found through call-outs, through really investigating where are the right fits in terms of expertise, but also in mindset, in terms of collaboration. We then brought together 4 multi-stakeholder cross-disciplinary teams in series of meetings, in-country workshops, and 1 summit to facilitate the collaboration and enable mutual learning across disciplines and countries between researchers and policymakers and industry experts. And through the development of 4 white papers by these teams and through their engagement with each other and across each other, we managed to achieve this. So this created these collaborations, and these engagement really created new knowledge to comprehensively address these complex challenges that were identified at the beginning of the project in partnership, and that had as great areas of interest and by NEXPO from Thailand and A2I from Bangladesh. So in the interest of time, I would urge you, without me not going through the final report, but for you to look at the final report. You see that on the screen, and that can be found on, the final report is called AI for Social Good, Strengthening Capabilities in Governments, which is also the name of the project, and it can be found on our website and can be downloaded, or I'm very happy to share this with colleagues if that is of interest. But with this, I really want to conclude your question and saying, yes, I do believe that it is strongly possible, and that I'm really much looking forward to working on many more partnerships such as this with partners and collaborators that have a mindset of mutual collaboration and sharing. Yes, that's what I'd like to provide for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schoenleber. Let's turn now to our final panelist, who's joining us online from Singapore. He brings to us the perspective of the private sector. Mr. Benjamin So is founder and managing director of ESGpedia, a data and technology company that powers the ESCAP Sustainable Business Network. He is also vice chair of the ESCAP Task Force on Innovation. So, Mr. So, the private sector's engagement and role in South-South cooperation may often go unnoticed. Could you please share some perspectives on the contributions that the private sector has made to South-South cooperation?
Thanks very much, Mitchell. And good morning, everyone. Thanks to the ESCAP team for inviting me here. So actually, to your question, we at the ESBN, which stands for the ESCAP Sustainable Business Network, we are a group of like-minded leaders from various companies in the private sector coming together to form various task force. As you mentioned, I am in the innovation task force. So that's where, the ESBN network of private sector leaders have come together. Okay, and we have created a Green Deal. Okay, and we also have this Green Deal digital platform that our company supports to allow companies of all over the private sector in APAC to be able to participate for free. And this is where, the idea of sustainability does require cooperation and hence requires support from, larger companies to smaller companies, or, just multilateral support from various agencies even and international organizations can really be put into practice. So with this Green Deal, we have put together a program whereby the platform allows any company of any size to be able to access it. The moment they sign up and become a signatory to become more green, okay, they will get a green badge. Okay, if they have able to now track their progress towards sustainability for 1 year, they are able to get a silver badge. And if they are able to improve on the data on an ongoing basis, they are able to get a gold badge. So this is something that we have delivered, to the society amongst us. And if you go to the next slide. Okay, and quite pleased to share that we have more than, the number is now outdated. It's actually more than 400 companies now within the first year. And some of the more recognizable names are on the screen. So these really make up of several countries, okay, in the APAC region. Okay, and we are starting to see not only this, but in the next slide, certain incentives and benefits that have been already afforded to the users of the Green Deal. So we already have these Green Deal badge achievers. They have gone through the platform. They have been able to get helpful tools and guidance on how to generate their sustainability report, calculate their greenhouse gas emissions, and therefore set targets and move towards, better achievements. Many of them have also achieved financial benefits. Okay, these are some of the examples that we listed here. And that's where, the financial institutions are also stepping up in this network to be able to provide cheaper interest rates. Okay, the larger companies are able to benefit by having a greener supply chain, and the smaller companies are also benefiting by having a lower cost of capital. Okay, if I go on to the next slide. Okay, so that's where also this will be highly driven and very synergistic by the larger corporates, because the larger corporates today have a need to be more sustainable. They typically are more sustainable, but they also need to be able to track their supply chain. So that's where another case study is that many of the companies that we work with today, they want to adopt this program for the suppliers, for the supply chain. Again, this is a very good case of cooperation where the larger corporates create this so-called incentive scheme for suppliers to come on board. The financial sector, okay, chips in some financial incentives, and this is amplified across the region through a digital platform, okay, and of course, okay, implemented by the ESCAP Sustainable Business Network, ESBN. And my last slide is really a appeal, to everyone out there, okay, that we are hoping for more cooperation, looking for more partners. We are able to hopefully drive more channel partnerships. For example, we have been able to provide some co-branded landing pages with some of these large organizations or banks that you saw in the previous pages, whereby they are using this platform to really drive more engagement, okay, with their supply chain or their SMEs. That's where events, workshops, and online cooperation take place. The outcome is definitely enhanced supply chain, enhanced business credentials, and financial benefits, okay, in terms of sustainability throughout the APAC, Asia Pacific region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. So. So this brings us to the end of our questions to the panelists. But I do understand that the Philippines would like to deliver a statement from the floor. The Philippines, of course, is an emerging development partner as both a provider and a recipient of technical assistance. I think we're going to hear this morning from Ms. Beatriz Inez Herrera Davila. She is the Second Secretary, Consul, and alternate permanent representative of the Philippines to ESCAP. The floor is yours, B.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, The Philippines is very supportive of and an active advocate for South-South cooperation. The Philippines is both a donor and a recipient of South-South cooperation, as a participant and beneficiary of several projects supported by the Perez Guerrero Trust Fund for South-South cooperation. We also actively promote South-South cooperation in UN discussions and facilitate the mainstreaming of South-South cooperation in national and regional efforts to achieve the SDGs. Understanding the role of South-South cooperation requires new approaches to the way we measure progress in sustainable development. The Philippines is proactively strengthening its partnership with developing countries through technical cooperation projects. We are convinced of the unique position of South-South cooperation to support countries in the Global South, all while being complemented by traditional modes of development cooperation. To be specific, we are very keen on exploring how the Philippines can contribute to the development efforts in the region, particularly on capacity building and technical assistance. Let me outline 4 examples. First, the Philippines can offer its expertise, among others, in effective public finance management, climate change mitigation and adaptation, natural resources management, waste management, regulation of single-use plastics, agriculture statistics, and agriculture value chains. Second, among middle-income countries, the Philippines actively promotes South-South cooperation and continues to champion South-South cooperation in paving smooth transition pathways for mix. We are an active member of a like-minded group of countries on middle-income countries where we advance the interests and priorities of middle-income countries in the UN and relevant international processes. The Philippines will host a high-level conference of middle-income countries in Manila in 2025 to bolster efforts toward the elaboration of a program of action for MICS and promote cooperation among MICS in Asia. At the upcoming 79th session of the UNGA, the Philippines will coordinate the resolution on South-South cooperation on behalf of the G77 and China. Third, the Philippines aims to facilitate South-to-South dialogue and collaboration on strategies related to empowering women in promoting peace and security in the Asia Pacific. This October, the Philippines will host an international conference on women, peace, and security in Manila. And fourth, the Philippines plays a pivotal role in creating and nurturing platforms for human rights engagement in the ASEAN region and UN, and in advancing South-South cooperation and upholding human rights. Through these efforts, among many others, the Philippines advocates the important role of South-South cooperation in ensuring that development is people-oriented and is an enabler of growing solidarity, peace, prosperity, and stability in the region and beyond. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Philippines. So we do have a little bit of time remaining in our session today. So I would like to open the floor to colleagues here in Bangkok attending who might have any questions or comments on what we've heard today. We'll give everybody an opportunity to reflect on what we heard. Anybody want to break the ice? Go. That's what I was going to do next. So if there are no questions here in Bangkok, Dr. Deb, let me give you another opportunity to share some perspectives. Your Center for Policy Dialogue in Bangladesh, right, was one of the founding members of the South Asia Network on the SDGs. This is a networking platform among South Asian countries, CSOs, and other agencies to exchange knowledge and lessons learned. Could you share with us how valuable are these networks and mechanisms to accelerate progress?
I think it's important to recognize the role of the knowledge partners. I think if you see the processes which goes on at the multilateral level, and let me keep it at the multilateral level. And when I mean multilateral, I do mean intergovernmental organizations and also international organizations for that matter, including the UN agencies. It's very much process driven. It's very process driven, and obviously it is headed by the relevant ministries of the government. And the opportunities for the non-state actors have opened up much more than before, definitely with the MDGs and thereafter the SDGs. But yet, the relationship between the knowledge actors and the policy actors are still very weak. And if you see the knowledge actor and the policy actors, and by policy actors, I mean those in the government processes and also intergovernmental processes, is essentially at the end of the tube. So just like what I have just said sometimes ago, I was assessing what has already happened. In some way, the process, how it has ended, and more the knowledge actors do come in and they end towards the assessment and evaluation, but very little on the beginning of the process in terms of shaping the issues, in terms of getting the processes in place and building in the accountability and transparency mechanisms within the place. So if you ask me, looking at this process for now a number of decades, if not 4 decades, I see that the progress has been made, and it has been strengthened in the sense of the role of the civil society or think tanks or the knowledge actors in our respective countries, more as an assessor and an evaluator, much less as a generator, co-generator of policies and institutions and other go forward. And if you look at this issue which we are discussing today, the multilateral solutions to South-South cooperation. So again, if we really do not bring in the knowledge, what we have, the empirics we already have, with some kind of a hindsight, into making these processes, which are so potential, more effective in the coming days, it will be difficult. It will be a lost opportunity. The lost opportunity is particularly so if we do not put ourselves, keep the targets. On the one hand, within a week, we are going to approve the Pact for the Future. And there is a number of issues where in this Pact of Future, these multilateral solutions for South-South cooperation can make contribution, very substantive contribution. And also, if you look into the future, the next global conference on development finance coming up, development conference finance would definitely benefit the outcome document if today's discussion, what we have had, can be really channeled in a much more effective way, in a structured way, into the process and the outcome documents which we anticipate. And here again, I will conclude by saying the policy actors and the knowledge actors, they must come together much more effectively in a coordinated fashion instead of the parallel movements which we continue to see. Thank you very much for giving me the floor.
Great. Thank you. Thank you again. Kun Aruni, if you don't mind, let me ask you, as the representative of TICA, our co-organizer this morning, perhaps give you the final word for our panel discussion. TICA as an emerging development partner, what kind of recommendations might you have for new technical assistance providers?
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I think what I'm going to say perhaps can be the same, the ideas that we have been listening. Thailand was the transform from the recipient country and to the ODA provider. So may I suggest our friends from the Global South to consider the implementing international development cooperation through the multilateral mechanisms, as I said, that to set up the policy, right? And with the following, I see the 3 Ps. The first P is a political commitment. Development agencies must secure our political commitment from their respective governments. Because the secure the political will is important for having enough resources and ensure the continuity and sustainability. And my second P is the partnerships. Apart from the international partnership for development agencies should have their work in domestic stakeholders. I mean, you should have brought the domestic stakeholders on board at the beginning. This may include the support from citizenry, academia, civil society, organization, and also particularly the private sector. Once you have the backing of a strong partnership at home, so I think that you can form a better partnership at the international level. For the last P is to set the priority rights. So many has mentioned already about the limited resources. So I think that our Global South should seek the common goals and prioritize their development agenda for the most impactful development solution. This is what we think that from TICA as our experience of International Development Cooperation Agency. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Kaplan Makap. Well, so that brings us to an end to our panel discussion this morning. I'd like to, of course, once again, thank our panelists, especially those three who've joined us online, and the five we have here in person in Bangkok, for sharing their thoughts and perspectives on how multilateralism can contribute to South-South cooperation and bringing a better tomorrow for all the people around Asia and the Pacific. So let's give everybody one more round of applause of thanks. And with that, I turn the floor back over to Adnan Aliani to deliver some closing remarks. Thank you.
Distinguished participants, today's event showcased the increasing importance of South-South cooperation and the significant impact it can have on the achievement of SDGs. Across the Asia-Pacific region, more and more countries that were previously beneficiaries of technical assistance are becoming providers of technical assistance, supporting other countries of the South, and presenting a wealth of regional solutions and expertise. As Professor Deb said, there's north of the South and the south of the South. As we heard from the panelists, this not just governments, but also non-state actors, such as civil society organizations, academic institutes, and the private sector, have a major role to play in this. One of the central components of ESCAP South-South cooperation work is the annual Asia-Pacific Director General's Forum for South-South and Triangular Cooperation, known as the Asia-Pacific DG Forum. It was jointly launched by the Government of Thailand and the UN Office of South-South Cooperation in ESCAP in 2018. The DG Forum has evolved into the go-to regional platform for South-South practitioners in Asia and the Pacific. Every year, the forum brings together the heads of development cooperation and South-South cooperation agencies of ESCAP member countries to share experiences, good practices, and provide a venue for facilitating collaboration on issues related to South-South and triangular cooperation. This year's forum will be held from the 27th to the 29th of November in Bangkok under the theme of resilient and sustainable urban development, in line with the theme of the 81st Commission session. We look forward to the active participation of all member states. As we come to an end of today's regional commemoration event of the UN Day for South-South Cooperation, I take this opportunity to thank our distinguished speakers for their valuable contributions and our co-organizer, Taika, particularly Kun Aruni and her team, for the long-standing partnership with ESCAP. I would also like to thank all the participants for attending today's meeting here in Bangkok, as well as virtually. And last but not least, I would like to thank Mr. Mitch Shea for moderating today's vibrant panel discussion, as well as the ESCAP Secretariat for organization of today's event. We look forward to welcoming you to this year's 6th Asia Pacific DG Forum in November, and to our continued regional dialogue towards promoting South-South cooperation in Asia and the Pacific. Thank you very much. With this, we conclude today's session. Thank you.
Online participants, if you are still there, can you turn on your camera? We'll capture some screenshot. Thank you.